Hi everybody and welcome to another episode of Small Talk. I'm Amy, this is my wife Maggie.
Hello.
And this is the series where we slow down a little bit, we have a cuppa.
We're back on the couch.
We're back on the couch and it feels like a long time since we've been on the couch.
It does feel like a while, yes.
Yes. And
time to sit back, relax a bit.
I think so. We've been pumping out the reviews, not just the big reviews and a few previews, but also all of the 10 out of 10 games. It does take a bit of work to go back, revisit games, and remind ourselves how it feels to play. Sometimes we've been playing a few of them as well when we haven't played them recently enough. And so that's been a bit of a process, a fun process.
It's good to shake things up, actually, because you can get kind of stuck in the one thing and being able to, let's get back to the couch and like get back to the cup of tea and do other things.
Yeah, I hope you enjoy mixing it up as well. I know some of you really have missed Small Talk, so thank you for sending those messages and saying that you miss our conversations on the couch and catching up with what's been going on in our lives, because that's really nice.
And if your least favorite part of our videos is our rambliness, then you probably want to get out now, because this is probably not going to be the video. This is where we probably ramble the most. All of our catching up over a cup of tea and talking about
all of our
everything.
Content is very much long form, but this feels like long form.
This is extremely extra long form. Yes.
But we have been really, really busy, so we thought a good time to stop and chat. Also, there's been lots of new games coming in the door because October is just a really big month for games. I think there's a combination of lots of deliveries because of all the things that we've backed during lockdown and now coming through, being inundated by parcels. Then there's a lot of publishers are trying to release their games around the same time as Essen. And then we've had all of the games that we got at Gen Con. We're still working our way through those. And now there's this wave of Essen games. And
it's an intimidating pile to get through.
It's a lot.
It's the best of the problems to ever have.
Yeah.
So it's not complaining.
It's a fun time to be in board gaming because there's just so much happening.
Yes.
And there's like events in the community that have been going on as well. And so why don't we start there? Because we have just had in Melbourne last weekend PAX Australia. And PAX Australia is a little bit different if you've been to PAX in the US. PAX Australia has traditionally been very focused on video gaming.
Yes.
Which I believe maybe that's where it started originally anyway, the brand. But in Australia, the tabletop section used to be called the analog section, and it was much, much smaller.
Very, very small.
Very small. A very tight-knit community.
Like you blinked and you would miss it. Yeah.
A library and not much else. But this year, I was really happy to see that along with how much tabletop gaming is growing in Australia, PAX Australia have really built up their...
Well, it's leveling up the tabletop area.
The tabletop area,
which is good.
So there were some publishers there. There were distributors there that had lots of live game demonstrations going, and of course you could buy the games. There were lots of retailers there selling games, which gave more of that like con environment, even if all the publishers can't make it to Australia. That was really nice. There's more indie games going on.
Yes, that was so exciting to see. So many
really
indie publishers and like local publishers as well, like demoing games and or people who have things on Kickstarters, which I'll point to something in a bit. So that was really cool.
And prototypes.
Yes.
So getting to sit down and play some prototypes by Australian designers.
Yes.
That was really exciting. And of course, it'd be remiss not to mention that the Board Game Barbecue were there, who are an Australian podcast who have been running game days that we often go to. We try to go to as many of them as we can.
They're great gaming days.
But they've kind of taken over running a lot of the teaching at PAX this year. And it was incredible. It was just, the best PAX I've been to, because it felt so much like this strong community of people that it didn't matter whether you were overwhelmed with the rest of the con. You could come back there, sit down, play a game, and as always, they're so generous in teaching and really
so
passionate.
Welcoming as well.
Yeah.
It was interesting because you would go into the digital sort of area, and I feel like this year, I'm into video games and a bit of PC gaming, but this year it was almost like there was more hardware than games and stuff, but there was an awesome indie game section, so that's probably the bit that was most exciting. It's like a lot of small and indie game design, like game publishers. but then the rest of it like could feel quite overwhelming because there's a lot of like overstimulation, and then as you would kind of make your way through to the tabletop, it's like like you have all the tables and people are just like talking to one another, and I was like, this feels so nice. And that part would close earlier.
That was really interesting this year.
So I think it was you would usually close at 6, and then everyone would kind of gravitate towards the tabletop area,
because they left the tabletop section open till almost midnight, which was amazing because the wave of people would come from the video games, and it feels like so many more people these days are just interested in getting to know board games a little bit more. So there were lots of people that were new to the hobby, and it was just nice that there were so many people just willing to teach. It was fantastic. There was a great library there. So it was surprisingly great. Like we had a really good time. Not that we weren't expecting to have a good time, but it's very different to the US conventions that we go to that are solely based on board games. So, and also we took a friend with us, and he's kind of been getting into the hobby because, of course, we are always like, let's play a game. You're coming over? Well, let's play a game. And, all of our friends are a bit like, okay, we'll play a game and entertain you, entertain the thought of board games.
But kind of humor it. We'll humor it.
Yeah,
and then
exactly.
Some of them, as you know, like some of them will kind of get more into it than others.
Yeah. But this was the tipping point.
This was good because then, he got to spend that whole day, when you're just like immersed in it. It's just like you're learning one game, and all of a sudden you're in a group of, new different people that you've never met, and you're all kind of having fun learning this other game, and then you're experiencing this other thing. And I think that's, that I feel like that sealed the deal.
It really did. Now afterwards he was like, next time you go to one of those board game days, can I come?
Yeah.
And we were like, of course. And are you free tomorrow night for gaming? And so he was at our place the very next night, gaming with us again. So it's just so, I think like the overwhelming sense that I got is like so many people are getting into the hobby. And thank you to everybody who came up and said that they knew us and recognized us from our content, thanked us for our content.
Yes.
That was really special. And the community is so special to us. And in particular, the Joey fam. I just want to say again, thank you so much for all of your ongoing support. We did get an opportunity to catch up with a couple of people from the Joey fam. We
play a couple of games, which is great.
And meet in person. So that was really fun as well.
Got a couple of goodies as well, so I might as well point them out now. So we've got these. I'm going to have to put down my tea. Got these beautiful little, what do you call it, Christmas ornaments.
Yes.
Made by Jess.
Handmade by Jess.
So, and it was awesome to obviously like get to hang out with Jess and James. Because obviously like you always like chat and you feel like you know each other from, chatting in the comments, chatting in the Discord. But it's never the same until like you meet in person. You're like, like this is so great.
And what I was saying to them is like how nice it is to sit down and just like straight away come together over a game, and it was just like so wonderful to be able to do that.
So thank you so much for these.
Also, I said come together, and that was one of the games we played.
Yeah, that's one of the games that we played. So that's very appropriate. I'll put this over here. One of the other things that I'll mention is we had a couple of people that came up, and they were sort of. They watch the channel and they're like, we really love the stuff that you're doing, and just wanted to give you a copy of the game that we've developed. And these are two such lovely people. Their names are Samara and David, and they've got a Kickstarter at the moment called Curses and Covens. And they also gave me these beautiful little earrings, these meeple earrings that I believe Samara makes as well. So we haven't actually had a chance to play this game yet. But when I had a look through
it's a one versus many game, which is
many.
Really interesting. You don't see many of those games, so I'm intrigued to try it out.
Yeah, their company's called 1000 Rats, I believe. And look at this. The cards, because they were kind of like tarot-sized cards, but the artwork on them, the illustrations are so beautiful, and the diversity on these characters is so like amazing that I was like, whoa. Well, that's a scarecrow. That's probably not. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is so beautiful. Who did this? And Samara's like, oh, I did. It's like,
Yeah, so amazing.
so impressed. So
How can people have so many talents?
yeah. So I'm excited to check this out.
Yeah,
and
it is
have a
on
play.
Kickstarter now, and while we were there at PAX, they actually reached their funding goal, so
Yes,
that's amazing.
so that's-
Congratulations, and yeah, looking forward to checking out that game.
And thanks for the earrings. I absolutely love them.
Yeah,
It's all
and
really cool.
we got to play a lot of great games. One game of note is that we played Glass Road
Finally.
by Uwe Rosenberg, which is a game that we've had on our shelf. We pre-ordered
It's
the new copy of it and haven't had a chance to play it.
Yes, and it's been sitting there on the shelf staring at us. And obviously, me loving Uwe designs, and this being one of those that people are like, you're gonna. And apparently has an excellent solo. So finally got it to the table, and we got taught it, and it was one of those games that I was like, you know what? I feel like I'm excited for this. I feel like I've scratched 2% of what's to discover in this game, so I can't wait to get that back out.
The resource system is really, really interesting in this game because there's 2 dials, and the way they move, when you increase in particular resources, you're decreasing the others. So there's a lot to think about how that all comes together. Plus, it's one of those games like Newsford where the combination of buildings is really where the victory points are to be had. So understanding how those buildings all fit
unique
together.
abilities of each building.
And so there's a lot to discover. So
also, there's
got to
really
go
interesting
deep on that.
mechanism of having these cards, which are your actions, and then you're kind of deciding which cards you're going to play. But then as you're playing them, if someone else had picked that as one of their cards, then it gets played at the same time. So you have this other element of sometimes not all those cards will be played, and some of them might end up getting played out of order in terms of the order that you had planned. So it sort of adds to that complexity, which is
very interesting.
So interesting.
We got to play a lot of like very social games because there was often a big group of people around. So we had a lot of fun with some party games and that kind of thing. We tried Skull for the first time.
We did. It's one of those games that I've always seen everywhere.
We always see it, and it's so popular.
And I'm always drawn to the cover because it's so colorful, and I really I'm attracted to the aesthetic of it. And we'd never played it. And it's
a very unusual game, very simple, where you've essentially got a set of coasters, or they look like coasters, and on the other side there's either going to be a flower or a skull, and it's kind of about bluffing your way through. It's very much about the social
and bidding
environment.
So you're kind of like
bidding,
pushing your luck a little bit and bidding, and then bluffing because you're kind of bidding how many people will have played flowers instead of the skull, and then you're like, and you get to select. It's like, okay, so I'll be that maybe 3 people. Like I'm going to be able to find 3 flowers, and then you start going 1, 1, 1, and then oh no, Amy, you kind of caught me with your skull. And so really interesting.
That was a fun game. And what else do we play? We played so many things.
I'm going to say I felt vindicated because one of the things that I always talk about, what's one of the things that I always talk about? Taco Cat, Goat Cheese Pizza.
The safety issue.
The safety. So Nurse Maggie always has a house rule of whenever it's obviously Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza being one of those games where you're like slamming your hand on the table and last person to do it loses as you're going through the rounds. But I have a house rule that you have to do it in front of you. So it's almost like the last person to slap the table is the equivalent, because I hate that reaching into the middle and, fingers and things getting caught and twisted.
It does cause you a lot of anxiety.
And in my mind, I'm like, it's just something that I don't, I just want to play it safe. Not actually thinking that you would have real life injuries as a consequence. And what did we find out?
And then the other part of this is Mike from the Board Game Barbecue has had an argument with Maggie that if the game is not violent, then it's not the real game.
Like if someone doesn't get physically hurt as
you
part of it,
played it right. And
like,
Maggie
no,
and him are like, no,
I will not budge.
I will not have this. And when we saw him, he's like, there's someone I need you to meet. And he grabbed us and brought us over to this woman named Mandy, who was absolutely lovely.
So lovely.
But she had her fingers taped together.
Yeah, it's that whole, where you've got the little splinter thing.
And they had been playing the night before and had played Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza, and she had an actual Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza injury.
Yes. And so I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe this has actually happened.
And this is why.
And now
fair enough.
Exactly. So now I feel...
I love that game, but yes, I understand the dilemma.
Well, there you go. So that's a warning. Be safe,
Pastoral.
everyone. at
Everyone
home.
stay
Board
safe
games
out there.
are not meant to be a contact sport, I feel. That's my own philosophy when it comes to
And Mandy,
gaming.
if you're watching, I hope you're feeling better.
I hope
that's healed up.
your finger has recovered and you're on your path to,
Yeah.
full recovery.
Full recovery.
Yeah.
And we
What else
also
did we play?
Well, we also got to teach a game of Terracotta Army to
Yes.
Joey fan member Nick. So thank you for playing
Yes.
with us, Nick. And
That was fun.
that was really fun.
We got to play also
game.
Cat in the Box as well.
Yes, you played Cat in the
Yes,
Box as well. Yeah, and we played a whole ton of games. Some of them we might talk about more on the channel as we get to experience them more and have a full review of them. But
All in
now.
all, great day.
Oh, great.
Great
It was
weekend.
Great weekend. Yeah, it was really lovely. And so now let's talk about some things that have turned up in the mail because there has been a few of them. And we have this segment that we like to call This Just In.
But we'll start with postcards.
Oh, okay. We'll start with postcards.
Yeah, because
Good
they're
idea.
here, and we usually have them at the very start of the video. But I think we got too excited with with PAX.
I mean, we haven't done a small talk for a while, so bear with us.
How this runs.
Yeah,
do you want to start or do you want me to start?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you to everyone who sent us a postcard.
Yes.
And if you're new to the channel, the postcard thing came about from when we first had 5,000 subscribers. We're now about to hit 14,000, which is absolutely
mind-boggling.
outrageous.
Yeah.
And we're so grateful. So thank you.
So extremely grateful.
Thank you
And,
all for being here and watching.
Yes. And this would not happen, obviously, at all if it wasn't for all your support, all of your beautiful comments, and also all of the channel members that financially help support the channel, because we are not funded by anything outside of the support that we get from the members.
Yeah, so we really appreciate it. And at 5,000 subscribers, we asked people to send us a postcard, and they are still coming through. And so it is amazing, and we don't want it to ever stop because these are so special to us. Because when we look at our collection of them, it's the recognition of the community that's all over the world. And we've recently taken them down from our old studio, and I'm in the process of finding a spot to put them
in the new space.
So that we can constantly look at them. I had to be very careful taking them all down, and especially not to rip the paint off our wall because I put them all up with blue tack. So anyway,
lessons learned.
So they're still coming through. Check out this beautiful one. It's made of a wood.
Yeah, it actually says here it's harvested, eco-friendly, sustainably harvested wood veneer.
Yeah, and so this is Cascadia, like the game, from Portland, Oregon. It says, "Hello, as I write this, I have been married for 3 days to my best friend. Congratulations. That is amazing.
That is very exciting.
We went on a mini moon, I love that term, and thought this card was perfect for your collection, and I'm such a huge fan. Hope to meet you at a con one day." You know what? We are hoping to get to Portland, Oregon.
Yes.
It has been on the list every time we've gone to the US recently. And because we've had to cut something out, and because it's not on the perfect path usually to something else, it always kind of gets cut. But I don't want it to, and I want to go there
in the list, in
so
the wish
badly.
list. Yeah.
So this is from Reggie. Thank you so much, Reggie, for sending that in.
All right, I've got one from, look at this awesome one from Hamilton in Canada with I believe that's the path. So it's one of those rainbow walkway crossings. And this one says, "Hi Maggie and Amy, greetings from Canada. I've loved watching your videos, and Bonfire has become a fave thanks to your review. And I really appreciate seeing more queer rep in the board game world. I know there are lots of us here, but it doesn't always look like it. So thank you for making this space feel more like home." From Rachel. Thank you so much, Rachel.
Thank you so much, Rachel.
That's such a great,
really important to us to represent the queer community. So
Absolutely. Thank you for the postcard.
Very happy that we can do that. The next one is actually two, and this is from Ralph, who actually lives in Melbourne, Australia, but was off on a holiday and visiting Germany. And it says, "Hi Amy, hi Maggie, greetings from the north, still in Germany during the summer months." So this is Frankfurt in Germany in summer, which I wish we had been there in summer. I can imagine it would be absolutely amazing.
One day.
And this is actually the view from the Polish side. And then on postcard 2, you've got Bodensee, which in English is Lake Constance. And this was our holiday highlight. This lake borders many countries in South Germany, beautiful sunsets every night, and rainfall, which is a huge waterfall of river rain, was spectacular. That sounds absolutely
That sounds
incredible. What a perfect
amazing.
holiday.
Yeah.
He says he's got a lot of catching up to do. Haven't seen ThinkerThemer that much here because he couldn't get Wi-Fi all the time.
Fair.
You know what? You shouldn't be watching ThinkerThemer.
No.
Get out
Take
and
it all
enjoy
in.
your holiday
Yeah.
and look forward to catching up with you back here in Melbourne. Thank you, Ralph, for thinking of us while you're on
Yes,
holiday.
Thank you.
Yeah. I
And
love that
then-
when people go on holiday and they see a postcard and they send
Yeah,
it in to us.
that is so
It's like,
cool.
thank you for taking the time out of your vacation.
Absolutely. And that was the view from Poland. And this card is from Poland. This postcard is from Poland. So this one says, Dear Amy and Maggie, I just found your YouTube channel very recently and I fully love it.
Welcome. Thank you.
Welcome. Yes. I'm a very beginner in a hobby, thus mainly playing easy family games with my 9-year-old daughter, Emily. I'm sending greetings from Krakow in Poland and wondering if you have received any postcards from Poland. I believe we have, but never enough.
Not that many.
Not that many.
Not that
yeah.
many. So
And
it's great to have more.
And this is a beautiful one because it's like watercolor paintings of different cities as well.
We've never been to Poland. I would love to go to Poland.
Maybe you've been here. We haven't.
We
yet.
have not,
Yes.
but it's on the list.
We have friends from
Everywhere's
Poland
on
as
the
well.
list. Everywhere we haven't been is on the list.
I know. We have
but-
a long list.
Yeah,
long wish
but we do
list.
have friends from Poland, and it looks like such a beautiful place, beautiful cities. I would love to visit. And so nice that you can also share this hobby with your daughter.
Yeah, that's so awesome.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I have so many memories of playing games with my mum as I was growing up, and it's just a really special thing, I think. So
Yeah.
that's really lovely to hear.
So it's best wishes from Magd, and it says also, P.S. I am sorry for my bad English. What bad English? This is like better English
Yeah,
than
it's
mine.
great.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
so
the
much.
postcard.
All right, so now let's get to the games that we're filling up our. So we have a post office box where we get all of our games sent to, and the women there. There's these two women there that know us, and they're always like, "Oh, let me get the trolley."
Yeah.
Every
Let's
time
bring
we
the
come
trolley.
in.
This
Every
time it was like, there's 2 trolleys.
There's
You're gonna have to take one each. It's like, okay.
Yeah, well, and they do like bank up a little bit, especially now that all the Kickstarters are rolling through. So let's bring them through.
All right, so let's see what's arrived. This just in. So the first thing, I have to reach over. Okay, so the first thing is, there's 2 things. So one is the game, Roll Camera, the filmmaking board game. This is a game that I haven't had a chance to play yet. Obviously, it's all about filmmaking and you're kind of putting together your film, and I believe you're kind of getting your actors and your scenes and stuff. There's so many thematically components here that are such cool nods to film. Like, for example, the entire box is actually a slate, and then the tray.
Is that what that's called?
Yeah,
No, I didn't even know that.
the clapping slate.
There you go.
We can use that to sync the audio now. And the tray is actually like the film reel, which is
super cute.
yeah, so cool.
Super cute.
And so I know like Rado, for example, like is always losing his mind over how much he loves this game. So I'm really, really keen. And apparently it's a really good solo game.
Yes, I have heard it's a very great solo game. It is cooperative, so it'll be interesting to see how that goes down with us. But
Yeah.
definitely Maggie solo, and
And
also
I went to film school, so this is very, very near and dear and close to my heart.
But
as
it's
a theme.
It's a good time to be getting into it because this is the B movie expansion. So it's from the recent Kickstarter.
Yes.
So excited to check that out, and happy to see that it's come in this Recycle Me
Yeah.
packaging for the expansion. So
Yeah.
hopefully all of this content will fit into the box.
Yes,
so
that's the plan.
that is the plan.
All right, can I
Okay.
give you this,
Yes,
and
you
we can
give
start?
me
Just
that.
careful that doesn't
Yep,
open.
Yep.
Now, another one.
Snack time. So this one was one that we talked about a lot in back chat, and we were excited to get our hands on.
I love this
It
theme.
is a roll and write, and there's, from memory, there's like sewers where
Yeah, you got
the
pets in that live. There's like monsters in the sewers.
Yeah,
To
are they your pets or are they
No,
consuming
well, it
the
says,
pedestrians?
it says your pet creatures,
Oh,
and they're
they're your
hungry,
pets.
and they eat pedestrians as they're walking past,
Yeah.
and so you're kind of
You're
that's what you're
mapping
trying
out
to
a
do.
path.
Yeah.
To get out into the street and to
Help them, like
eat the passerbys.
it's a bit of fun. It's a bit of
It's a different, interesting theme. Yeah.
But I love the illustrations and the artwork of it.
Yeah,
And the
very
actual
quirky.
gameplay looked quite fun. So I'm really looking forward to checking out
Checking
Snack
out
Time.
Snack Time. Here's another one. This is Verdant. So, to fill out our collection of Cascadia and I just forgot the other one.
Calico.
Thank you, Calico.
Like one of your
I know, I just completely blanked. Verdant, which is all about plants. So I'm excited to try this spatial puzzle
Beautiful
out.
Beautiful
artwork
artwork
as usual from Beth Sobel. So very excited to give that a go. So that's Verdant.
Yes. And then we have, this one's pretty cool, pretty heavy as well. Tindaya from Lolo Gonzalez. So this was a Kickstarter that we covered a little while back, where it takes place. So Lolo's from Spain, and this takes place in the Cayman Islands, where you have the kind of the local tribes of the natives, and so much of it is around. There's a combination of kind of sharing knowledge and developing the tribe and evolving kind of together, but at the same time balancing, natural disasters, and at the same time fighting off the incoming conquistadors that are coming in to try and take over the land. So this is, it's such an interesting and kind of, I feel like, beautifully treated theme. And it looks like a lot of fun. Like, it's got a lot of those kind of Euro-y,
I'm really
complex strategy things that we like. So that's Tindaya. Excited to check that one out.
Now, the next one is a preview that we haven't talked about the fact that we're covering, and that is Unconscious Mind. So this is the new game that is going to be coming to crowdfunding soon, and it's by Fantasia Games. And I know a lot of people have been really interested in the topic because it covers Sigmund Freud and all of his kind of theories of
it's the contemporaries. It's the
yeah.
contemporaries and the members of the, I believe now it's the Wednesday Psychological Society. So it's like the contemporaries that would get together and discuss their findings and all of the theories around the subconscious and dreams and the interpretation of dreams. So what you're going to be doing here is treating or helping treat clients. And so I think it's such an interesting topic.
I can't wait to check it out.
Theme.
It seems really interesting. It seems like that. I believe there's like a programming element to it, and we've talked about this on the channel because it was part of our anticipated Essen list.
Yes.
So we're excited to have this. It feels more pre-production than
the
prototype.
It's a very high quality.
Yeah, very high
prototype.
quality. So looking forward to sharing our thoughts on this one soon. Getting it to the table, getting it played all different player counts.
And the last one.
Hope
I don't break my back. Yeah. So I'm gonna start with just
probably people guessing what it is.
Teasing the deluxe resource vessels to give you a bit of an idea of what it might be. And just mind 1 second. I'm probably going to do some grunting.
Don't pull your back out.
We're at that stage.
Here it comes.
It's also very difficult to do it from sitting, but I also don't want to miss my spot.
This has got to be one of the biggest boxes.
This is massive.
Look
at this.
This is
Everdale, the complete massive box collection.
I mean, for the amount of content in here.
It's bigger than me. Look. It's like my torso is the size of this box.
Oh, well, if I can only keep one, don't make me choose.
Don't make me choose.
No, but we've been really excited to get more into Everdale. We have played it before, but we haven't played any of the expansions. And when this was available, you probably remember it on Backchat where we're talking about this is the perfect time to get into all of the extras and get it all in one go. So it is a beautiful box, but it's a very challenging box to store. Like if you were trying to fit these in Calyx,
well, I'm trying to think even with our shelving. We have a lot of flexibility because we can actually...
We're going to have to adjust some things.
Yeah, we can adjust the height, but it's I don't even know how we're going to make this fit.
But we will because it's beautiful and we are looking forward to checking it out. And we also got these deluxe resource vessels, which are just like these cute little thematic baskets to hold all of the tokens and things. So this is like your Themer dream, all of these little bits and pieces and the tree and all of it.
Oh, yes.
So we probably will cover Everdale at some point, but we're just excited to really get to it and play it.
So. All right, let's do some more grunting.
Lift. Lift with your arms, not with your back.
Lift with your knees. All right, there we go. Safely safely on the floor again.
Yeah, so of course we've got a lot of content coming up on the channel, a few previews as well are going to be launching probably in the next couple of weeks that we filmed a little while ago, so that's pretty exciting. But for now, we'll also cover off a few lighter games because we really enjoy the element of small talk that we enjoy the most, and the reason why we started this series is because we love lighter game experiences as well. Like we tend to lean into heavier games, and we like to do these in-depth reviews of heavier games and play them from multiple different angles, try different strategies. But it's so nice as well, just like the time we spend at PAX, to bring new people into the hobby via these lighter games. And also sometimes you just feel like a lighter experience.
Light and shade. It's about the contrast.
Yeah, and it's like having a game that's suitable for every occasion, every type of gamer.
Like having a meal that's just main meals. It doesn't make sense. Like you want to have some, like you have a little entree and an appetizer and a little dessert.
Bit of light and shade.
Exactly.
So the first game that we want to talk about today is a game called Wok and Roll. So Wok and Roll is actually by a Singaporean company and a Singaporean designer, Daryl Chow. And they have been really bringing out quite a few games recently. And one thing I really appreciate about them is the themes. The themes are
so
a lot
good,
of,
so
a lot of
interesting,
foodie kind of themes, very Asian themes, and a lot of authenticity in the themes, which I really enjoy. In Wok and Roll, you are going to be working as a restaurant owner who is trying to put together all of these kind of Chinese Singaporean dishes, and in order to do that, you are going to be rolling for different ingredients and then using those ingredients to mark off particular types of dishes, and those dishes are going to give you victory points.
Bury the lead. You're rolling these ingredients onto the wok, which is
the wok.
which is the dice tray inside the box.
Inside the base game box, there is a dice tray.
It's so cool.
Like, it's really good, isn't it? Why don't they do that more often?
I don't know.
It's not just a great table present. Well, it is. It's
functional.
It's also very functional because we carry a dice tray on us all the time when we're gaming. But just to have one built in, so great. Anyway, back to the game. You also are able to unlock different skills by rolling recipes, but the thing about this game is the active player is going to have access to more dice because when you're rolling the 6 dice, 2 of them are red, and only the active player can use the red dice. So all the other opponents still get to use the white dice, but obviously that gives them fewer things to work with. But you can also store ingredients in your pantry in the game such that you're able to do combos when maybe the dice roll hasn't gone your way. Also, it's kind of a bit like Yahtzee style where you get to re-roll the dice to try and get a better combo. You get to re-roll twice if you want, and you can put aside the dice that you want to keep. It is a very kind of
very accessible.
Accessible, very light style game, but the artwork is really beautiful. This one has a lot of Chinese writing in it, but in the rule book it does describe the types of dishes, and the dishes very much align with the ingredients that you're putting into the dish. So I really like that about this game. And then the most recent expansion for this is the Korean Wave. I should say not the most recent expansion, but recently this was introduced, the Korean Wave. This box, even though it's the same size, this box doesn't contain the dice tray or the dice or the pens. It's not a standalone game. But what it does contain are new player boards that bring in more complexity.
Absolutely, it really levels up. It's like the base game is very much an intro, very newbie friendly. But then you're kind of gonna get to the point where you're like, oh, really, particularly if you're like an established gamer, like you're gonna want a bit more meat on the bones, and this is what kind of brings.
It does bring that. It's still an accessible game, but there are a few more mechanics at play. It introduces the kimchi mechanic, they call it, which is a resource that's only available to be collected as you are able to make
the dishes.
Well, the kimchi dishes, the vegetarian kimchi and the non-vegetarian kimchi will give you this kimchi resource that you then need to make kimchi fried rice, for example. So I really like that. There's also a different way that the skills work. There's 2 sides to the board, so actually it comes with like 2 new player boards. And the more complex one also has this more complex unlocking of new skills that you are able to obtain ongoing dice that are going to give you in every turn an extra ingredient, and so it has more of that momentum feel. And I feel like with the kimchi mechanic, more of a comboing feel to it as well.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
So I really liked it. I also really like that the dishes are depicted in the Korean wave.
Yeah, you have the full illustration of them, and you have the name of them, and so you're like, oh, I'm finishing up my japchae, or I'm like tteokbokki, I love tteokbokki,
or kimchi fried rice, and it's like order. I don't know. It's really like I like that element of it because it
made me hungry. So I'm gonna say.
It really
made me was like, so I guess we're having Korean tonight.
Yes. Maybe we should have Korean tonight.
Absolutely.
Anyway, so if you are a foodie or if you like roll and writes, definitely check out Wok and Roll and expansion the Korean wave.
Nice.
Now the next game that we're going to talk about is a cooperative game, and you know how we feel about cooperative games on the channel, but we tend to like cooperative games that have some kind of timer element. So we've discovered this about ourselves, that we don't mind a co-op game if the game is putting us under extreme time pressure.
There's a lot of stress and adrenaline.
Basically, the game has to force us to work together.
Stakes are high.
And so Sink or Swim is exactly that. I was so excited about this when it came out on Kickstarter. But the shipping was so high that I couldn't justify backing it. So I was really happy to be able to pick it up at Gen Con. And it really delivered exactly how I thought it would. In this game, you're all playing as synchronized swimmers, and you're all trying to basically pull off a routine. And this routine is going to be guided. You're going to be guided through this routine by an app. So you need to download an app to go with this game. But basically, the app is just going to tell you about what cards to include out of the box.
And it's different modules as well. So each routine kind of has its module set of cards.
And it's also there's a campaign which is like 10 different routines that you're going to work your way through, and then after you've unlocked kind of those 10 routines, the app will then randomize that for you. But the app also acts as the timer, and what's interesting about the timer in this game is that the first time it will give you 20 seconds. If you don't pass the routine, it will add 10 seconds. And so you always feel like, well, I want to do it in as short as time as possible. But if you fail it, well, next time it's going to be a little bit easier. So that's kind of a nice little built-in function into the app. But what you're trying to do in this game is all of the players are going to have a number of cards depending on what level you're at. And the routine that you're trying to pull off has a number of stages. And so the first stage might be that everybody has to contribute a card to this stage that is going to be, that are different colors. And then the next part of it might be everyone has to contribute a card here that is an even number. And so everyone starts by, the first most important thing is to communicate with your group, because you need to look at your cards and be like, I can't satisfy either of the first two conditions. And someone else is like, well, I've got a card that can help you with that. And so as soon as the timer starts, you are swapping cards with each other, and you can also use this diving mechanic, which is diving into the deck to try and get cards that are going to help everybody meet the conditions to complete the routine. But 20 seconds is not a long amount of time. And it gets progressively harder and harder, because as you move up in levels, you need to do the first condition, and then it adds a new condition. Then in the round after, you've got two conditions, it adds a third condition. And so by the time you're finishing off that routine, it's a lot to get done at once.
And so you're trying to finish off the routine before the timer is up. But then after that, you also have to check, because everyone's kind of doing the routine on their own kind of little mini board. And so then once you've paused that, like once you've kind of gone, yep, we've done it, you actually have to check, did we get it right? And sometimes someone might have
the cards out, and it's like, Maggie, you put a yellow card there, and it was meant to be blue or green. Not to pick on you.
Not to pick on me.
That actually didn't happen. We worked very good. Well together. And one thing to note about this game is it's a minimum player count of 3, and it plays up to 6, but it's just a great cooperative game. If you like games like The Crew, this is similar in that it takes a lot of communication up front to work out how you're going to be able to meet that objective. But of course, this one has that timer element as well. So that is Sink or Swim by Bezier Games. And the final game that we're going to talk about today is a slightly bigger experience. This is Dog Park.
Look at this. Ah, what a
So
beautiful
cute.
box. Oh, there's a lot of glare because it's kind of that what do you call it?
It's got a bit of a sheen to
Yeah,
it,
the sheen.
Yeah.
But Dog Park, we are dog walkers trying to gain the most reputation as dog walkers so that we can, have a thriving business.
Thriving dog walking business.
Dogs. And the way you're going to do that is there's a combination of a bidding element where you're trying to kind of spend some of your reputation to get first dibs on the dogs that you want to select to bring onto your kind of personal kind of kennel board. Then you get to select of those dogs, which dogs do you have the resources or the things that they like to be able to take them on their walk. So some of them are going to be very picky and they'll only go on a walk if you can give them their 2 bowls that they like, or if they, you can give them their sticks, or you can give them, one of the other things, treats and toys. So once you kind of are able to bring them to say, okay, well, these are the dogs that I'm going to be able to walk. I can afford to give them the things that they like. Then we put them we go on a walk. And it's very parks reminiscent in that then when you're going on that walk, all the different walkers are going to be going between like 1 to 4 steps. And depending on where you're landing, you're going to be able to get some more of those resources. So pick up, more sticks or more toys or things along the way. Some of the other things that you're going to be able to do is swap some of the dogs that you might have with other, some of the other dogs in the kind of like doggy display. And the reason you might want to do that is because at the end of the game, there's going to be a combination of things that will lead to those points, of the reputation points. One, there's going to be a hierarchy of the dog breeds in terms of who has majority in each of these breeds. That's going to determine the points. So there's big points and that's randomly determined for each game. So it's going to vary each game. They're not saying that any one particular breed is better than another. That's just going to vary from game to game. It's cards randomized. The other thing is going to be, we're going to have our own private objectives that we're going to try and meet. And so it might be about, particular dogs being walked more times, or particular having more, a certain number of dogs of a particular breed or things like that, or having, variety of combination of breeds. And what are some of the other...
Well, some of the other fun elements in the game are that on the dog cards themselves, they also have built-in abilities that some of that will come into effect in final scoring. So, for example, one dog might allow you to store excess sticks on it, and at the end of the game, those sticks are going to be worth victory points or reputation points. They also might have abilities that when you're out walking, they'll allow you to pick up extra resources. There's a whole host of little abilities that are written on the cards, and so when you're drafting, the auction part is quite interesting because you are bidding in reputation, and ultimately that is your victory point. So you don't want to bid too many because it's the end game points, but also you want to make sure you get those right dogs to contribute to that breed kind of majority game. But it's very hard not to just draft the cutest dog, honestly.
I mean, there are some that just call out to you and you're like, how can I leave you there and not bring you home?
Yeah, it was like, oh, that one looks like Boston. I just want to draft that one, even though that breed is not worth that many points at the end of the game. But also it's about resource management as well. So, you can walk 3 dogs each round for the most part. And when you don't walk a dog during a round, it's going to cost you reputation. So if you haven't walked that dog, makes sense. If you bring that dog to your kennel and then it doesn't get a walk, well, you have to take some kind of penalty.
An unhappy pup, and we cannot have that.
Yeah. So if you do enjoy a game like PAX, this is kind of a step up from that. There are a few different layers in terms of the strategy, but I've really enjoyed my time playing this game, especially with dog lovers.
Yes.
This is a game, it's just like Wingspan. If you can appreciate the birds in this, you can appreciate the dogs and the different breeds that are represented. And I know that there's other packs that you can get that have famous dogs and different types of breeds of dogs. But
I feel like that's a great combo. It's like, this is Parks meets Wingspan but with dogs.
But with dogs.
Because you do have, obviously, like there's a card reading on the individual dog cards, as Amy was saying. And so there's that element of kind of going, oh, okay, so when you're selecting, it's not just about the breeds, but it's also about like, well, what ability is that dog going to be able to allow me to activate as well?
And accessibility-wise, it probably sits between them as well.
Some doggy facts as well as part of the cards. So that's also cool.
Yeah, it is really cool. And
beautiful
there are
components as well.
Yeah.
Like all the little kind of like wooden components and like just the illustrations.
Can we talk about the game trays that are shaped as a dog bone?
I mean,
that is one of the best
so
game
good.
trays that I've ever seen are the dog bones that are in this game. So if you are a dog lover and looking for a kind of a lighter experience that still feels like a full hour game, then check out Dog Park. Yeah.
There you go.
That is all we
everything.
have for you today, which, as usual, is a lot of us chatting. But thank you for bearing with us while we navigate all of the different series that we have on at the moment and our reviews. We hope you're enjoying the content. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and we'll be back with more board game content soon. But otherwise, bye for now.
Bye.